Tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about building an AI agent to automate tasks. And this came about because I was actually trying to do something on my home machine, which I've given talks about before, to build something that would do one step after another. And unfortunately, some of the things that I needed got blocked by Civic AI, which is a website that contains lots of useful things, but has been blocked now because of the age. They didn't want to enforce the age requirements that the British government had put on, so they just blocked everybody in Britain from using it, which is a bit of a pain. I mean, obviously you can use a VPN to get to it, but I decided that I'd do something. I'd have a look around to see what else was available, and I saw this mentioned on a thing called MindStudio, which is sort of similar to what I was planning to do with ComfyUI, but this is more oriented towards large language models, whereas what I was planning originally to talk about with ComfyUI was editing pictures. So it's quite a different talk, but it works in a similar sort of way, and this does have some picture capabilities, but I haven't actually tried them out yet. So what is MindStudio? Well, this is what they say it is. It's a powerful, easy to use visual builder. Doesn't require any coding, so you don't have to be a programmer to use it, but you can add your own code to it if you want. So it's extensible. It says there's over 100 templates, and then when I looked, I could only find 3. But later on, I realised why I was going wrong, and I'll talk a bit about that in a bit later. It says if you're going to build your own, it can take between 15 minutes to an hour. The thing I built, I've found it took me about 3 hours. So it depends what you're trying to build with it. I was probably a bit ambitious. So what it does, it allows you to build a workflow using a graphical interface. So this little picture shows you a start box and an end box, and in between it's got a thing that says scrape a URL and then generate text. That would be a fairly simple little workflow, but basically you can do things like that. So you could go to a website, look for some information, and then return it. So for example, you could use this sort of complexity of workflow to go to the BBC News website and grab the headlines and tell you what the headlines are. Perhaps it could even go in the next step and generate an email to you and tell you what the headlines are every day. Though I think the BBC will do that for you quite well enough anyway. But I had also recently read an article about how the internet was becoming full of rubbish. And I wonder how AI was generating all this rubbish, because apparently it's all generated with AI. And then I read another article about how people were being bamboozled into buying books that weren't what they thought they were on Amazon. And apparently what's been happening is that whenever a famous author announces a new book, some various people will create accounts with names that are slightly spelt different from the name of the famous author, and they will go onto Amazon, and then they will use AI to generate a book with the same name as the famous author's new book, and they will issue it a few days before, and then people will accidentally buy it off Amazon, and then they'll disappear, and then with the money, and you bought a book which didn't turn out to be quite what you thought it was. So it can be quite disappointing. And I thought, how are people using AI to generate books? Anyway, I'll show you in a bit how you can write a book with AI. I decided to build a workflow that would do that, and this was the first part of it. As you can see, what I've done is I created a start. You've got the start page, which you get when you first start. It's got some user input, so you can say what sort of book you want. It's got some logic. It can create a description of the book, create the titles, create the chapter descriptions, and then it starts you can get it to write chapter 1 and chapter 2, display the output, and so on. Anyway, what can you have in these blocks? Well, the MindStudio system can have all sorts of blocks, and this is the first page of it. It's got some fairly good reference material, so I found it very easy to use in their documentation. It's also got video courses. If you click on the link at the top, it's got this thing called MindStudio University, and you can go through, watch videos about it, or just read the articles about the different blocks. So this is just A to C of what sort of blocks are available. So you can have a chat block, a checkpoint block, blocks that create Google documents, blocks that create Google Sheets, which are like equivalent to spreadsheets like Excel, that will create posts on LinkedIn or Facebook, or various different websites. So you could, in theory, get it to write all sorts of stuff and fill the internet up with junk. Now, I'm not recommending you do that. I'm just saying this thing exists. I thought it was an interesting thing to tell you about. And you might wonder where all this junk comes from that's on the internet. Well, this could be it, or something similar could be it. So I looked at what templates there were. When I looked, one of the first ones that I came up with, one that monitors Google Trends. So it searches on Google for specific keywords. It scrapes the Google Trends for top trending searches. It analyzes what people are searching for and then identifies them. And then you can use it to put keywords in your web pages automatically, so that when people are searching for something about Donald Trump, they'll come to Basingstoke MakerSpace because we confused them, or confused Google. So it allows you to abuse things like Google searches or whatever. Anyway, one thing it actually might be useful for is tracking website changes. So we've got an agent that does that. So you can monitor, if you're running a company, you can monitor your competitors' websites, see whenever they posted any new material, have it tell you about it. It could monitor blog updates from companies that you follow or you work with. So you could look at your competitors or your partners' websites and have it tell you about them. And I think that sort of thing is already being used, because last week our insurance company phoned up and said they saw we'd had a change on the company's house website of our directors, and I was able to tell them what it was and assure them that there wasn't anything bad going on. But they're obviously using something like that to spot. So companies are starting to use this kind of thing to spot what's going on and make sure that their relationship with their customers or suppliers is as expected or what they want. So this is something that you might want to do. And basically, I normally use Firefox for browsing the internet. And I only saw these 3 different already built agents. So I thought, oh, I'm going to have to build an agent. What I hadn't realized at that point was that if you use Chrome, it's got this extension. And if you click on the dock icon in the extension, you install the extension, click on the dock icon, you get a huge list of agents that you can run. I'll show you that in a minute. But, so for example, here is my Gmail account, or one of my Gmail accounts with Chrome. And you can see this down here in the bottom at the side is this little icon. And if you click on that icon, it will then take you to a bunch of agents. You can scroll up and down. It's got about, they say there's 100 here. I must admit I haven't counted them, but there's quite a lot of different things that will do useful things. One of the useful things I'll show you in a minute. So to do that, I'm just going to head off to MindStudio.ai, and I'm just going to do that. So here's MindStudio in Firefox. Unfortunately, in Firefox, although you can go to various different things and look at agents, this is where you see a few agents, but when you try running them, you'll find that most of them have got, just in really small writing underneath, pro agent. There's a few things there that don't have pro agent. These all run quite well in Firefox, but the other things won't run unless you pay them. And if you're on a free account, which is everything I've done and I'm going to show you tonight was done on a free account, so it didn't cost me anything. But basically, you can pay them $16 a month for a starter account, or you can pay $48 a month for a pro account. And then a lot of those agents that are there will only run on a pro account, unfortunately. But to be honest, I found that 1,000 runs per month, if you make quite a complicated workflows that I was playing with, I could probably only run it about 20 times a day at the most. So 1,000 runs a month would be quite feasible. What I did find, though, is in the afternoons when the Americans are awake, that runs much slower. So I was tending to find it worked quite well in the morning and didn't work so well in the afternoon. We'll see how well it works in a bit when I go through the demo. So I'll just go to, let me just fire up Chrome. So I was just doing I was trying an experiment to see whether I could take our bond prospectus and get it to give a summary, but unfortunately didn't seem to want to read this sort of document, this PDF that's generated inside Cahoots. So I tried something different instead. I tried a YouTube video, and so if I go Basingstoke MakerSpace, and we find our most recent YouTube video, which is this one of Steve doing the talk
to members. We'll talk about the loan process a little bit later.
You know, and you might think, oh, I just really want to know what it's all about. So luckily there's various different agents, and there's one that will watch a YouTube video and summarize it for you. So this one, YT to executive summary, if I run that, it will watch the YouTube video for me. It does it a lot quicker than I could do it. Oh, what's my... Probably, yeah. So it wants me to sign in, and I thought, hang on a minute, I'll go log in. It was yesterday. It was letting me log in with my Gmail account. Yeah, I wasn't given a talk yesterday. That's annoying. Now it's only wants my work address. That's not going to work, is it? Why is that not working? That's annoying. But here, but by the way, you can see here's the little icon where you can fire up the various agents. Let's try this again. I thought I thought it was working. IT to executive summary. Is it going to force me to log in?
It does say error in the top right on Chrome, so it could be something's not synchronizing properly.
Oh yeah. Oh, it seems to be doing something now. Oh yeah, there we go. It's worked. So basically, it's watched the video for me, and it's given me some key insights about what Steve said during the article. It's got some takeaways, that the Arduino starter kit contains various different components. There's some documentation about it, you know, how to look at the documentation and how to set it up. And it's also got in here the time. So if you scroll down here and go, oh yeah, I really wanted to know about this bit, so you can jump to the right time in the video about it. So it could be quite useful if you want to know what's in a YouTube video, or check the YouTube video's got what you need. And it goes into the details about how it's quite complimentary here about how Steve came up with this clever idea of combining two projects. So it can save you a lot of time by watching YouTube videos for you. And at the end of it, comes up with takeaways, what you need to think, and where things are kept in the box, how you deal with the loan process, the link if you want to buy your own kit, and conclusion. So it can be quite useful. So that's using the MindStudio built-in things, but I started out with the idea I really wanted to build my own thing. So let me go back to here. I started this process of building something and trying to get a book written that would I could sell on Amazon. I must admit I haven't got that far yet. I got it to write a book, and it was mostly junk, so which is kind of what I expected. But I just wanted to go through the process and show that it could be done. So I created this book author, and I started out by thinking, well, when I'm writing a book, how would I go about it? I might want to write a book. I don't know what I'm going to write a book about, so I need a form, and you can basically create a little input form. And you can tell it what inputs you're going to hit. I've got a book title, a genre of book, and a description. And then after I messed around with that a little bit, I thought, well, even the description's quite hard work, writing a book description. I just let it invent a description. So I've got this extra bit of logic in here, so you can leave the description, and made the description optional. Don't know if you can see that, it's quite small writing. But I made the description optional, and so you just have to put a title in, a book genre, and a description, and then you can choose on whether or not to put a description in, and it will then create a set of chapter titles for your book and display them. So I thought, well, that's a good start. Let's try that. So we can run this in a draft mode. What I found is the free system won't let you publish it, so it will only let you run it in draft mode. Did that work? Yeah. It's not really any different. It's just that it's a different place on the thing. Yeah, if you were able to publish it, you could then share it with somebody else, I guess. But
is it just picking up other people's work and putting them all together and shuffling it around? And
it's basically working on the basis that it's read a lot of books. So these AI things have read a lot of books. And oh yeah, there's something I should show you before I do this. I'm just going to go back. So let's go back in here. So if I go back into my book author draft. Yeah, so imagine it. I'm not. Let's say I don't give it a description. I just go give it the title and the genre. So what I've said to it is that I've given it a command here. It says write a book description for a book called, and I've got a title in the genre of, and the book genre. So I've basically given it an instruction in English for what it's going to do. And I said make the description 3 paragraphs long. And then in the next block, I've come up with I said come up with 10 chapter titles for the book titled, and again I'm using the title in the genre. Here is the book's description, and then I put the description in there. It says the output should be a list of chapters like that, and I need to just put the description in here. So when you type a curly bracket, it gives you a chance to choose a variable. If you put 2 curly brackets in, I'm going to put the 2 descriptions, the book description in there. So that's how you can make a piece of text that uses the form you've filled out, or things that have been generated earlier. So each of these calls are going to call a model, an AI model, and in the free account you can really only call a couple of AI models. Claude 3.5 Haiku is one of the better ones that's available for free. So that's the one I'm using throughout this book. And in here you can specify other models if you've paid for them. You know, there's another version of Claude, and there's GPT 4.0 Mini or 4.0 Mini you can use as well. But I found Claude 3.5 Haiku works better for this particular task. I tried a few different models in it, or ones that I only tried the ones that were available. Claude comes from this company called Anthropic. So anyway, so I've got that set up, and then after it's created this chapter titles, I just got another thing that shows the description and the list of the table of contents of the book. So yeah, let's try it. So I'm gonna.
It looks as though you've got more than one path of progression after the logic to the.
Yeah, I basically the logic says, have I entered my own description?
Oh, okay.
And if I haven't, it creates the description. If I have entered the description manually, because my first attempt, I was typing the description in, and I decided it would be useful if I was going to actually write a book. I might want to put the description in myself.
Okay.
I mean, I could, alternatively, I could go out on the internet, find out what people are looking for by Googling things, and I could have it create a description based on what people are Googling if I wanted to. You know, so I could just find out what books are popular today and have it generate a new book in that genre, that popular, what people are buying on Amazon or something, and then.
Everyone else does the same thing, and you all end up the same sort of track.
Yes, exactly. And that is in fact what's happening on the internet now. So I'm actually not suggesting you do this, but I'm just showing you as an example what could be done and what other people are doing with AI, which is scary really. So let's run this thing. I'm going to again open it. I started to show you. So I've got this page. I'm going to say let's type a book title. I'm going to put Murder on the Starship Enterprise.
How about Murder at Basingstoke MakerSpace?
We'll try that later. Enterprise, and I put a genre. I'll put futuristic murder mystery. Oh yeah. And I could put my description in, but I'm just going to be lazy, and because I'm not very good at typing, I shall just hit go. And now it shows you the thing. It's showing you that it's working its way through the description. If you look in the top left corner in grey, it will show you what it's actually generating. And now it's gone on to creating the chapter titles, and then finally it's showing you. So it's showing now the description of the book, which is done 3 paragraphs. It says, in a vast cold expanse of deep space, the USS Enterprise becomes a floating crime scene when the chief science officer, Dr. Eleanor Rodriguez, is found dead in her laboratory. And it goes on with that. So it has done, I think, it does quite a reasonable job of creating these descriptions. And then it's created 10 chapters, and it's given them titles, which, well, we don't know what they mean yet. What we need to do is we need to expand this model a bit more. And then just to avoid having to do a lot of typing in this presentation, I'm going to move on to another version of the model. So let's go back to my book author. I can get it to do it. And I've made let's go back to book author, and I'm going to go to step 2. So this is the more complicated flow. So I'm going to set this as my chosen workflow now. And what I've done is I've got it to basically, for each of those chapters, I've got it to create a new description now of the individual chapters and then display it. So let's go preview that. It's going to work. Maybe I've reached the limit of what I'm allowed to do. Open draft agent. Is this working? Yeah. So the book title, I'm going to go for the same. Yeah, my typing's not that great. So if I can spell future, it would help, wouldn't it? Futuristic murder mystery. Again, I'm going to leave the description to generate. It'll generate a new one, so it might be slightly different from the previous one, but it will go through the same steps again, and create a description first of all, then the chapter titles. And then now I've got it reading the chapter titles and trying to work out a plot for the murder mystery, and display, and then it should display the chapters with the details of what all the chapters are. This will take a bit longer. In fact, once I get to writing the chapters, it's going to take so long, I'm not even going to wait for it to do it. Okay, so it's now got what all these chapter titles mean. So it says, Chapter 1, Airlock of Secrets. Captain James Hawthorne is called to Dr. Elena Rodriguez's laboratory after the body is discovered. And, so it's creating 10 chapters, and hopefully they'll, it will be a sensible story in that the whole thing is going to hold together.
The true murderer is revealed to be an artificial intelligence.
Yeah, this could be a bit predictive. So sorry, we should go back to this one again. Let's go back to the book author. going to. This is the one thing I found with the navigation on this site. It's not great because you end up sort of going round in. In the things. So right, so let's see what we might do as the next step. So if I go to this next thing, I basically decided I wanted it to write chapter 1 and chapter 2. So chapter 1, I tell it again, we are writing a book and give it the title and the genre. Here are the chapters and description of each chapter. So I'm giving it the chapter descriptions, and I'm telling the AI, write chapter 1 in its entirety. I'd like 2,000 words, but a minimum of 2,000 words, but no more than 5,000, and ensure the book's formatted properly and tells just the portion of the book from that chapter. So although it knows about all the chapters, because I've given it all the descriptions, I'm just saying write chapter 1. And then for chapter 2, I've given it a bit more information. I've said write chapter 2 in its entirety, but I want it to, I tell it, here is chapter 1 in its entirety, so you continue where it left off. And then I tell it write chapter 2. And then basically I've got it displaying the content, chapters 1 and chapter 2. And so let's give it a go. So shall we change it now to write something else? Murder at Basingstoke MakerSpace.
Clown murders at Basingstoke MakerSpace.
The clown murders.
Clown murders at Basingstoke and make it a romance.
The clown murders at Basingstoke MakerSpace.
Someone's done this before, the same title, later take you to court, sue you.
No, just romance, no comedy romance.
Oh no! You know what? Somebody had voted for comedy here. Let's do comedy romance. And I strongly suspect nobody's ever done that. So it's going to. Oh, I've got the wrong. I've got the wrong thing.
It's just not going to write the chapters.
Yeah. It's going to give us a different description. Well, I'll let it do it, and then I'll go back to the other thing. You'll notice at the bottom of the page, I said sometimes it can take a long time. Certainly if I get it to write 10 chapters, it could take half an hour to do that. So you can get it to just do that and send you an email at the end of the process. So here's, Poppy Thornbury is teaching a knitting workshop at Basingstoke MakerSpace when news breaks out of the first clown murder. The victim, Tommy Giggles Richardson, a local performance artist, is found dead backstage at the community theatre. His clown makeup grotesquely altered. Poppy overhears Detective Jake Hartley discussing the case and can't help but interject her amateur detective theories. Yeah, this could go downhill rapidly, couldn't it? So, so anyway, yeah, and as you can see, it's done the thing. Let's go back again and have another go at getting it to do the right thing. Reload the draft. Oh no, I want to edit the agent. Edit. Oh no, that's probably, yeah, edit the agent. Oh yeah, so that was the problem. It didn't take my. I have to make sure it's the chosen workflow in the thing. So right, let's go. Can't spell romance. There we go. What I've found actually is that at the moment it obviously relies on the title and description that you put in there. It doesn't the title and the genre that you put in doesn't create that different a thing every time. There are some controls when you set up each box. You can set the controls what's called temperature, and the temperature is the amount of randomness you get that's generated. So I've got them all set at about 5 out, so it's sort of like on a scale of 0 to 10. I think I probably should set the temperature a bit lower so that it generates more randomness. Well, it seems to be lower to generate more randomness. So anyway, it's now creating chapter 1. This takes, as I said, this takes a bit longer. So has anybody got any questions so far? Am I completely mad?
Going back to the YouTube video summary.
Yeah.
Have you fact-checked the summaries it's come up with to make sure that it's not hallucinated things from the video?
Yes.
Is it reasonably accurate? Or?
Yeah.
Can you summarise the summary in case you really got it out?
You could.
I guess my question maybe falls a little bit outside the scope of the presentation, but how does one spot AI writing within something? Because I've definitely bought one of these books. I bought it. It was suggested to me on my Facebook feed, and I thought, oh, this looks good. Bought it, started reading it, got to chapter 2, and I was like, people don't talk like this. You know, it was very.
Yeah.
And then I looked up the author, and he'd written 7 books in a year, and I was like, there's not a chance.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I found another website where their aim is to write 1 book every week.
Okay.
Using this sort of technology. So, you know, it's going to get worse. There are things around which I haven't tried yet, which apparently can spot AI writing. But I'm sure there'll be somebody writing AIs that can write that don't get spotted as well. So.
Yeah, as long as you just kind of take the output of that tool and feed it back into the model of the new one you're training.
Yeah.
Specifically make it dodge that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
And I do have friends who have been picked up by AI scanners and things because their writing happens to be in the style of an AI.
Yeah. So here it's written chapter 1, balloon animals and bad intentions. The soft hum of machinery filled the Basingstoke MakerSpace. That sounds quite realistic. A sanctuary of creativity where technology and imagination collided. Lily Hartwell leaned over the 3D printer, her fingers dancing across the control panel. Does this sound right? Doesn't sound that realistic, does it? But anyway, yeah, you can see that it has written the whole of chapter 1, and then here's chapter 2. It's written 3,200 words, it says. I don't know. Sometimes I've found with this particular model, it overestimates the number of words it's written. Yeah, yeah. A lot of the earlier AIs aren't very good at arithmetic, so don't ask them to do any arithmetic, I'd say. I have no idea. They hope you're going to pay them $20 or $16 a month to use it. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
There was an old economy of hiring ghostwriters from developing countries to write your books for you, and hope they get enough money to pay them off and you get profit. So I guess this will just automate the far faster.
Yeah, I think there's a certain amount of that involved here. You know, that you're putting ghostwriters out of business, but ghostwriters can write better books than this can. So.
Not as fast though.
Not as fast. That's
How
true.
much input can you actually give? So I've got an idea for a book, right? And I've got lots of ideas for pages.
Yeah.
I really don't want to go to the arse of writing a book. Can you put like
Yeah.
several chapters worth of
Yeah, basically the way I set up that chapter thing, you could put the input in at that stage, you know, just create another form. So you could write your chapter 1 description, chapter 2 description, and so on.
Chapter 1, get it straight as you want, and then generate chapter 2.
Yeah, you could definitely, you can sort this thing out in different ways. And I have been playing with another tool, which I could do a different demo about, which would do that for you. Where you can basically tell it different things and have it do the research, you know, upload the research documents, have it read the research documents you're using to help you write your practice chapter, and then say, write a book about what I've just uploaded. So those things you've just uploaded could be true things, false things, news stories, something you come out of your head, whatever. Something you dictated to it. There are things in here which will, you know, do voice to text, so you could speak to it. So I think that's about all I'm going to do.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
And hopefully you might find a really good use for it rather than my crazy one.